Good morning, everyone. Brian here with BMK Magic Explorations. This morning we have a topic which I think some will find a bit interesting. Now, back when Gerald Gardner, the founder of the neo-pagan religion Wicca, was getting things going, he created, well, I'm not sure if it was entirely his creation alone, or if there was some precedent for this. I'd have to look into that. But he basically instituted a practice for neophytes, new witches, those seeking the path as beginners, or at least considering it, of taking a year and a day, 366 days, to practice and study as a way to see if it was the right path for them or not. And it makes sense. I mean, if you'd sat there, if you'd gone through doing the studying and the practicing of ritual and ceremony for 366 days, and have not just decided to quit and couldn't stick with it, or didn't find it to be your thing, well, that's enough time you'd know whether this path is right for you and you're confident in that or not. It's kind of a way of giving things a trial run, which is actually a very, very good idea. Of course, Gardner sometimes, since he was trying to get things started and all, would rush students through without them having to take a full year and a day, quite. Nobody's perfect. I mean, the guy can be forgiven. He was also possibly something of I wouldn't say entirely fraud, but he may well have fabricated some of the claims. But then again, with a lot of the neo-pagan and New Age religious and spiritual movements, this was a thing where they may or may not have made up some of their claims. Everybody seemed to think back then, to be authoritative and all, you had to have some ancestral lineage or some reason that goes way back in the day, when really I've known more than not really accept, that a lot of this stuff is either revival, a recreation, or start out as a brand new religion or spirituality, that was founded anew, though harkens back to beliefs of old, from back in the ancient or paleo past. So, it was a weird time, but anyway, to assist in helping with a year and a day, we have, as I promised on this channel, we'd have both some movie and television show as well as book reviews. I believe I mentioned all that. And we've got our first book review. By Timothy Roderick, we have Wicca, A Year and a Day. This was originally published back in 2006. And basically what Roderick does with it is he takes us through, as he puts it, it's an introductory guide, an intensive course of study for 366 days. And Roderick, Timothy here, he does a very good job of basically giving us what we would need to know to get started. I'm going to try to show you some. My copy still, or at least it was, supposed to be in new or light new condition when I got it, so I tried to be careful with it. Okay, we take a look here at the, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but probably not very well. The contents here. It's just a little bit of a brief view. I'm not sure how well it's coming through or not. Forgive me, small camera. But we have in here, it gives us, first acknowledgments, then an introduction, then the magical days, an Appendix A, Appendix B, notes, bibliography, and index. Which is kind of appropriate because although you do have a way to reference through things, You're not supposed to just rush through this or turn to whatever interests you. You're supposed to take it as a course of study. Let me set that back down here. Oh, and the back here is pretty simple, and it gives us a pretty good description here of what goes over Wiccan theology, witch lore, sabbats and esabats, Wiccan deities, circle work, magic mirror scrying, magic tools, healing work, magical correspondences, tarot, runes, numerology, herbs. It's pretty well a very, very good guide for what the beginner would really need to know to get things going. I must admit that I've begun working on it myself and haven't gotten entirely through it. So this review is basically a little bit of an overview. Hey, if I had to take 366 days before I reviewed it, that'd be a while. And also I found at least a couple other reviews on it, which are pretty good. But anyway, although, Wicca and other ways witchcraft and other, say, neo-pagan religions and spiritualities work are cyclical. Well, the book is linear, but, it's cyclical in terms of, we follow the seasons, and that's our guide throughout our year in a way. Well, the book is also linear. Now, some might be sitting there going, well, wait a minute. I don't have 366 days uninterrupted. Well, there's the beauty of it, too. Being linear and all, you don't have to work through its 366 days consecutively every day. You can take a weekend off, a day off, or, even weeks and just pick it back up when you get ready again. There are magical, tools and other items you're supposed to get for some parts of the study course, which you should take time to either be prepared and have acquired them if you don't have them in advance, or take a little bit of a break to get them so you can pick it back up on that next lesson there. And some of the lessons, are nothing more than a bit of, a bit of reading and thinking. Some days that's all there is to it. Other days you'll be doing some ritual and ceremonial type work. Other days you'll be working with more practical magic like herbs and such and all. Learning about charms and spells. It's pretty simple stuff. I will say that there are some criticisms that are fair here, such as Roderick is really into his essential oils, and once you get onto that area, well, there are some out there which are either very, very rare, hardly ever made, or uber expensive to find, so he didn't... Excuse me, getting a bit of a dry throat here. He didn't really recommend any good substitutions or think to go over that, but I'd say, if you're going to pick up a copy of this and go through it, you don't have to be exact. I mean, it's not really going to change the work you're doing to substitute something that would be close enough or a little placeholder that would still work. I mean, there are some of these where you'd be paying hundreds of dollars if you could get a hold of the essential oils, so it's not always practical in every respect. On that note, but like I said, you just have to learn to substitute in and out a bit. Other things you need, like, say, certain size taper candles and things like that, a compass and all, those are things are easy to get. You get them at your local big box store like Walmart or Kroger, arts and craft stores like we have a Hobby Lobby here. It's nothing that's going to be too expensive or unaffordable. My advice would be the main thing is take it at your own pace. Take a break of a day, a weekend, or however long you need between each lesson. And do your best to get together all the essential items and tools you'll need for the work, whether in advance or as you go along. And be willing to make, especially on things like the essential oils, some substitutions. And get there. I mean, if you stick with it for 366 days, that should pretty much well tell you that you've chosen a path that works for you. If you quit, it tells you that you should probably be looking at something else, which that's the other use of doing something like this. And Roderick's book, to me, is a very, very good guide to it. And again, admittedly, I'm still working through it myself, but as it goes, it takes time. As a matter of fact, I kind of wish, that it was the year and a day um, as a rule or traditional guideline. It's a thing that's mostly for Wicca and its various traditions and branches, whereas, say, hereditary witchcraft and other variations, satanic, don't really usually have this. I'd say, especially for whether you're talking about the neo-pagan religions and spiritual practices or systems, such as, beyond just Wicca, other forms of straight-up witchcraft systems, even, say, heathenry, neo-druidry, and even those that would fall outside of what we would consider the neo-paganism category, like, say, for example, things that are more of ethnic, regional, or cultural paths. One example I could give is, say, voodoo. Hey, it has an affinity. It's still a magical system, and it's still basically a religion. It just falls into a different category as far as it's categorized by scholars and academics. But I'd say any system, it'd be. I'm not going to tell them how they should do things, but it'd be nice if somebody would create a guide like this, because taking it 1 year and 1 day for any of these systems would actually be a very, very good idea for the new neophyte or initiate. The book even has, basically your own self-initiation rite for solitary practitioners, which is who this is probably, with Wicca at least, most ideal for. Whereas with coven work, you're basically going to get all this anyway. But like here in the U.S. where I'm at, it's, as I'd said in one of my earlier videos, there are covens some, but they're more common of a European thing. A solitary practitioner could really use a guide and a way to gauge and learn to see if this is a path that they feel like they're going to stick with and is going to be for them, or if they should be looking at something else. So my point being, for not just, Wicca, but any other neo-pagan or other similar religious/spiritual paths, a 366-day course of study and ritual is a very good idea, and I would say couldn't hurt for other systems to take a look into something like this. Maybe make some books of your own on how to go through it. Or, even if you can't, if you're looking at a different system, I've hardly found one out there where there's not a good book that has a basic overview or a basic beginner's overview. You can just pick up one of those somewhere and then set yourself up to do 366 days, a year and a day, to practice and study and decide for yourself along that time period whether or not the path that you've been considering is for you, whether it's something you're going to keep or not. So anyway, with Roderick's book, I'd give it a pretty good 5 out of 5. I'd say maybe a 5.4 instead of a 5.5 because, like I said, there are some things like the essential oils which are not the very, very... He should have thought about recommending some substitutions and such himself and all, but as it goes, it's otherwise an excellent work, and I'd recommend it to any. And like I said, it would be nice if some other religious / spiritual traditions would take up a similar idea. At least it couldn't hurt any. Like I said, you can find a good beginner's guide on pretty much most, if not almost all of them. And do it even if it's not structured that way. I mean, it's a good idea. You could also look for online resources, though, books tend to be a bit more intensive, so... Anyway, let me quit rambling on about that part too much. I know I sometimes get into that bad habit. Now I do have a recommendation here for you, not from my preferred YouTubers, as I couldn't find any of those who had actually done a book review on this yet, to my charging, so none of those. But I do have a recommendation link for you to an article giving the book review from 366 by a practitioner named Melissa. And she actually does a good job of going over it pretty well. It's from back in 2014, but you read through that, you'll get a pretty good idea of how good this book is. So anyway, I'll go ahead and leave a recommendation and link for you guys there. And in the meantime, if you enjoy this channel's content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And please don't hesitate to leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down in the comment section below. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful Monday. A happy Memorial Day too, by the way. Thank you to all of our veterans for their service, especially those who unfortunately are no longer with us. And hopefully I and this channel have helped to bring a bit more magic into your lives. Take care, and I'll hopefully see everyone again in the next video.